Big Rab Show Podcast is kindly sponsored by G1 Reeds. They are the champion's choice, with many bands around the world playing G1 products, providing everything you'd need to hit the circle or the big stage. So, check out g1reeds.com as they keep the lights on here at the Big Rab Show Podcast.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another Big Rab Show podcast. Well, what a week that has been, hey? Man, oh man, I don't know. It seems every time the Rab Show pod rolls around, we've got so much ground to cover, I don't know where to begin. I don't know. With the Glenfiddich this weekend, of course, we had the World Solos last weekend. Cheekers, we need to unpack all of that. Plus, we have, well, obviously one of the biggest news stories, of course, over this last while is, the situation that is Grade 1. And we'll get into all of that on this week's show. Plus, of course, we've got an amazing topic of the week where we managed to meet North Stratton. Yeah, we're back with our Meet the Band series, and this week we're meeting North Stratton, so we're going to get into that. But first of all, before we do get into all things Big Rab Show, let's get through our introductions, though, shall we? If this is your first ever Big Rab Show podcast, well, you are welcome. We are the show for the bagpiping folk. We reflect everything in the bagpiping world, be it Celtic music, folk music, or indeed our bread and butter, which is competitive piping and drumming. Each and every week we're here talking about what we know and love to be the music of the Great Highland Bagpipe and its people. And, yeah, that old cliche. Like every other podcast that I listen to, I'm sure you listen to as well, all of them seem to have a Patreon. So, we do as well. If you would like to, you don't have to, but you can be a part of the Patreon faithful. Go over there, click on support, and you can get your mitts on a wealth of extras. Now, we do somehow, I'm not going to spit it out, but I almost did last night on Fuse, if anyone caught that. Yes, I almost let the cat out of the bag of some really juicy Patreon extras that we're working on exclusively for Patreon subs. All right, now I'm not going to say any more because I very nearly dropped the ball last night on Fuse FM. And if you did miss it, well, you can go back over there on Patreon and listen to last night's show. That's one of the perks of being a Patreon supporter. You do get our weekly Fuse FM Ballymoney radio show, which is broadcast 2 hours live every week, and that error is up there. Not going to say any more, not going to draw attention to it, but some really quite sweet Patreon extras are around the corner. So, it's a good time to get signed up. Anyway, say no more. Let's fly on. With each and every Big Rab Show, we always open the door to listener mail. And this week is no different. Our email address, as always, hasn't changed from the outset. bigrabshow@gmail.com. That address again, bigrabshow@gmail.com. Now, as you can imagine, we mentioned at the very top of the show, the Grade 1 situation as it stands at the moment, where 2 of our Grade 1 big guns have now pulled the plug. Now, last week we spoke about the situation at Closkelt, and then at the point of us publishing the episode, then Johnstone put out the announcement that they will also be withdrawing their Grade 1 band from competition. And, as you can imagine, our listener mail has been absolutely flooded on this situation. So we will be getting into it, of course, the reasons, the statements, all of it. Plus, I think the listener mail that we've got has been pretty accurately reflected in the amount of weekly drones that we've got. Seems to be that a lot of people want to talk about this, but they're absolutely petrified of retribution. All right? Now, what we mean by that, we've spoke about this on the show before. A lot of people don't like speaking out about situations in the scene because then either they could get blackballed themselves or potentially they're banned. And, listen to them on the Rab Show, they're slabbering about a certain situation, and perhaps if they're, in front of a judging panel, we can go, I'll show them, that kind of thing. Now, we're not saying, neither confirming nor denying that such a thing does happen. We can't really say if it does or doesn't, but there is that perception out there that, if you speak out on anything, any given topic, then there is a potential to be blackballed, ridiculed, and hung out to dry. So, our weekly drone feature that we have here in the show, it's completely anonymous, and we're very proud of it, to be fair. Don't know any other podcast for the piping world that has done this, where it does throw open the doors to commentary to the scene, completely anonymous, and we can talk about big situations like this, and or we can talk about something that just isn't as big. Weekly Drone has been absolutely flooded, and I think it pretty much reflects all of our listener mail, just to repeat that fact. So we're not going to be getting into the specifics with our listener mail this week. I got a lot of commentary, actually, about the Big Rab Show Awards. I want to talk about that, but just to wrap up everything to do with the Grade 1 situation, we will be tackling that in our news and updates this week. We'll be bringing all of those weekly drones as well as part of that discussion. We think it's a valuable discussion that needs to be had in the piping scene, and we understand that it is quite controversial. There is a lot of landmines. So, I'm quite good at tap dancing on landmines right now. I've had years of practice. So we're about to get into it in the news and updates. For those of you that have sent in listener mail and all of that, that will be in our news and updates. We will talk about it. But yes, let's get on to our next section here on the show, which, of course, is Weekly Drone. Now, we do still have a wealth of Weekly Drones on the shelf, and we're about to get through another 4 of them for this week. Yeah, we've received loads. Since the world's wrapped up and everything, Weekly Drone has been going absolutely nuts. So you can send in your own, of course. Go to thebigrabshow.com. You can send in your own Weekly Drone. There you are. Big button at the top of the page. You can let us have it. All right. Just before we do, I did want to talk about the Rab Show Awards and the listener mail, actually, before we go and jump over that. Right. A lot of people were very angry that their particular nominee or chosen person, band, product, venue, whatever, wasn't in the finalists. Now, last week, we announced our finalists, and there was a lot of excitement online. A lot of people were running campaigns right now for you to vote for them and to potentially win a Big Rab Show award. And a lot of people really ticked off that their chosen person, band, whatever, did not make it through. Now, I really hope that I have managed to explain this over the years as to how the Rab Show Awards works. It goes on numbers. One nomination for a certain band, product, venue, whatever, isn't enough. You need to have multiple. And the more nominations you can have, the more popular the choice. And that's what the Big Rab Shows are. The Big Rab Show Awards are, It's the popular choice, and it is absolutely ran by you guys, the bagpiping fans. It is not us on the Rab Show team. Yeah, a lot of the listener mail we received was really quite scathing and ridiculing of the Big Rab Show team about how dare we not include insert name here. So, just to reiterate that fact, it isn't us on the Rab Show team that choose the finalists. It's by no means us, and it is definitely not us that choose the winner either. It's you guys out there listening to my voice right now. If you want your chosen person to be nominated, you want them to win, you need to nominate them, and you need to vote for them. That's, I can't explain it any further than that. So, for everyone that we've managed to really badly annoy, I don't know if the full understanding of how the awards works is there. So maybe that's on us. Maybe we could have communicated that a little better. But it's been the same now for I don't know how many years. And it will remain the same. We believe the system works. It is a popular choice. It's like a public vote on all of it. So, we're very much a post box when it comes to this. And, you might have seen a little sneaky video, by the way, on socials. Don't know if you caught that. But this year, we have some actual trophies to give out. Oh! Yeah, you might have seen that. Yeah, Big Rab Show Awards have actual awards to hand out this year. That's exciting. If you haven't seen that wee video, then maybe go along and have a look on YouTube and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. It's all up there. You can see the trophies actually being made right now. That's cool. Yeah. So shout out to Davey. Good man, Davey. Thank you. Sorting us out with really sweet trophies. Looking forward to that. So that's a real cool addition to this year's Big Rab Show Awards. To tell you, we've got some cool things lined up. That's one of them. There you go. All right. Let's get into Weekly Drone as promised. And we do have 4 of them, like I've mentioned. So, JD, let's have the first one for this week, mate.
It's the Weekly Drone.
Grading consistency. I listened to last week's episode where you covered off the regradings, or lack of, and noted that consistency was cited as a reason for not putting any bands up to grade 1. Consistency definition per the Oxford English Dictionary: the quality of achieving a level of performance which does not vary greatly in quality over time. City of Dunedin lasted 1 season in grade 1 and were put back down. 1 season's consistency was obviously enough here. The year Ravara were put up, they only attended the Scottish, where they were 3rd, and the Worlds, which they won. So clearly that was consistent enough for the committee to put them up. However, when Johnstone won 2 back-to-back world titles in grade 2, they had to fight to be put up to the top grade. We then had a band in grade 2 this year who were issued with green cards at the first minor they played at by all 4 judges, which indicates that they are playing at a higher grade level than their grade. These were issued before these judges had heard the other bands in a grade. They then go on to win 2 of the 4 majors and pick up Champion of Champions drum corps, but that's not consistent enough to merit going up. Then you have a band who finished 2nd, 3rd, and 1st across the 4 majors. The standard of grade 2 this year was by far the highest I've ever known it to be. There was no qualifying round. Bands had to play 2 scoring performances judged by 8 different judges. Not only did this band win the grade, they won it by a staggering 11 points and were also crowned Champion of Champions as a band. Oh, and guess what? The year before they finished 2nd in the Champion of Champions, 1 point behind Ravara. But that isn't deemed consistent enough? The piping media have been saying all season that 3 or 4 grade 2 bands could go up to add to the dwindling number of bands in grade 1. I do agree, we do need consistency. Consistency with the fair application of the rules for all bands. Consistency with the level of credibility of the personnel who are involved in these meetings and making these decisions.
Weekly Droner. Just going to let that play out there as I process my thinking on this. Yeah, that's a fair cop. Whenever you say that the piping media have been talking about consistency and there should be a consistency in approach when looking at regrading, yeah, fair enough. I can see that. Now, I know whenever I was reporting on this and I talked about having to be consistently excellent, and that's how you earn an upgrade. Now, that can not just apply for grade 2, but a lot of other grades as well. And I do know that consistency and achievement is one of those things that the music board look at, but they also look at multiple other things, not just the musical performances inside the circle. They look at the capability of the personnel. They look at a wealth of different things. You know, every single decision to move a band either up a grade or down a grade can have a real, absolutely positive effect on that band, or it can have the complete opposite and be absolutely earth-shattering for that band. It could be a move too soon, or it could be a move too late. It's a very difficult tightrope to walk, and the music board have an incredibly difficult task on their hands when they're considering this. Yes, they do look at results at competitions, and we did speak about that at being like, you know, the kind of the line in the sand where everything gets measured. You know, are you consistently up to that line or over it? Well, if you are, then here you go. Here's a promotion. Are you well below the line and have never reached that line? Then perhaps a demotion is on the cards. Now, is it that straightforward? Is it that clean cut? I doubt it is. I think a lot of things are considered whenever considering moving a band up or down. And consistency is, well, for me, a journalistic lazy word to use, and I apologize for using that. It kind of is an easy cop-out. And there's a lot more at play here, not just competition success, I'd have to say. So as to what the full considerations are, that's an interesting question. I do believe it changes each season, given the circumstance of the current competitive environment. Now, what I mean by that is that obviously post-COVID, there was a lot of allowances made to actually get bands back into full strength. Now, here we are now in 2025. Are those allowances still in place? Perhaps there's different ones in action that we don't know about. I don't know how these things are considered. I'm only sort of spitballing ideas of what I believe should be looked at. So it's a very interesting debate. Perhaps if anyone's listening right now and they have experience of being on the music board, or perhaps they know how these considerations are done, then would love to hear it. It sounds to me like that weekly droner there definitely has experience, or at least a very strong opinion of how regrading should work. So, yeah, should it be nailed down to just competition success? I don't know. That's an argument for another day. It's an interesting one. But I would stress that fact again, that sometimes the consideration has to be given that perhaps it could be a leap too far too soon. And in some cases, either up or down can both have a positive and negative effect. It's just difficult to gauge. And a lot goes into that decision making. It's just not as easy as going, oh, they placed first every week. That's an upgrade. It's just not that straightforward. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Thank you, Weekly Droner. But yes, I will take my lumps on that one. I was journalistically lazy. There you are. That's on me. Can I get a trombone? Thank you very much. All right, JD, let's get into the next Weekly Drone, mate. No more trombones, please.
It's the Weekly Drone.
Need more promotion of pipe bands from Asia? I want to hear more about bands from Asia. There's a small but growing movement of pipe bands gaining traction over there, particularly the pipe band scene in the Southeast Asia region. And of course, hear their stories for the world to hear about from the other side of the world.
Yeah, Weekly Droner, do you know what? I'm right there with you. Absolutely. I would love to hear more on this as well myself. Now, that's one of the things that I'll put across here on the pod. We're all volunteers here in the Rab Show team, and we do our best to try and cover bagpiping from a global perspective. Clearly, all of us here in the Rab Show team are mostly based in the UK. We do have a couple of representatives, 2 or 3, who are based in the United States. We have, I think, 1 or 2 in New Zealand/Australia. We have a few down there as well. So trying to get coverage from all across the globe is a challenge. And we've spoke about this many times before. Yes, we're well aware of the huge piping scene that is available in Europe. We've covered that before about Pipe Bands Germany, the association there, competitions in Belgium, Italy, even all across Europe, actually. We speak about the Breton scene quite often as well. We're very aware of a massive piping movement in South Africa. We try to reflect a light on that as much as we can. So, from a global perspective, we can be left wanting whenever it comes to covering areas like Asia, perhaps South America. I don't know. Is there any pipe bands in the likes of, Finland, Switzerland? I don't know. I'm just sort of throwing darts at a dartboard now. But yeah, I think no matter where you are in the world, you're bound to know a pipe band somewhere near you, if not in the same country. Or at least you're bound to know someone that has at some point or other either lifted a set of bagpipes and tried, or walked in a local parade or something, played at a birthday party, whatever. You're bound to know a piper, a drummer, or someone who's involved in the bagpiping world in some way. And we'd absolutely love to hear from you. We would love to increase our global coverage. And yes, we are well aware of I wasn't going to say a fledgling scene because it's past that now, there's quite a movement now in Asia. We're quite aware of a lot of bands being formed and, really playing some really good tunes as well. So, I'm not going to start dropping names because people are going to get upset whenever I don't mention their band, but there is quite a list now of quite a number of competitive bands out there in Asia. Now, as for any potential competition scene, not sure. I'm aware of a few competitive piping events in Asia, especially even you mentioned Southeast Asia and stuff. There is events happening, but getting that information is really difficult. So, if the information flowed a little easier and we had stuff that we can actually hang our hat on rather than I heard from this guy who heard from that guy heard from that guy that were at a competition in Hong Kong, for example. So if you have first-hand information about the scene in Asia, we'd absolutely love to hear from you. Perhaps you're listening to me right now and you're out there. We do have listeners who tune in on the regular in Asia. Now, we have a lot of downloads actually from Japan. Is there a pipe band in Japan? No idea. But there is a traditional music scene there. So I'm aware of it, but getting that information is difficult. So if you're listening to the show right now and you can help, then please do email us in. We'd love to know more about the scene where you are, not just in Asia, but around the globe for that matter. Email us in, bigrabshow@gmail.com, and who knows, we could feature you, your band, your competition scene, on a future Big Rab Show. We'd love to have that. All right, GD, that was an interesting one, but let's have the third weekly drone for this week then, please.
It's the weekly drone. Holly Gracie, good luck.
Was that it? That's it. Holly Gracie, good luck. I think that is in reference to the Big Rab Show Awards, I believe. I think, does that hold the record for shortest weekly drone? I'm not sure. Does it? But good luck, Holly Gracie. There you are. She has been nominated for Drum Major of the Year, alongside Louise Smighton, Charlotte Adamson, and Jamie Couples, who are our 4 finalists in there. But we got a weekly drone in this week. Wishing Holly Gracie good luck. There you go. You can do that, by the way. If you do want to send JD in a message just saying, hello to Big John that lives down the road. What about you, John? How you keeping? You can do that if you want, Or in this case, wishing Holly good luck. There you are. Do you know, I do think whoever that weekly droner was, they might have just hit the wrong button on the website or something. I don't know. But anyway, good luck to Holly and to everyone who's in there, by the way. Let's move on. We're not saying hello to Big John down the road. JD, come on. Let us have this 4th weekly drone for this week.
It's the weekly drone.
Confused.com. Rab, I'm confused. I'm new to this piping malarkey and only recently realized that St. Lawrence, the O'Tooles, and Slot are in fact the same band. So are Uddingston and Uddingston Strathclyde the same band, or are they different?
It's 2 very different pipe bands. Yes, completely different grade, different personnel, 2 different bands. I can understand the confusion. I do get it. They're both called Uddingston, essentially, but one is definitely Uddingston Strathclyde, and one is Uddingston Grade 2. I get it. But that's an interesting one. St. Lawrence O'Toole can be known by many different names. Slot, the O'Tooles, and St. Lawrence O'Toole, of course. Well, Field Marshal has many titles as well. Some people call them Field Marshal Montgomery Pipe Band. Some people just call them Field Marshal. You get FM. I know some people, they text us in each week to Fuse FM and they just call them the Machine. Bands get nicknames. Like People's Ford, Bog Hall and Bathgate, Caledonia. Again, they get the nickname the Boggies. You know what I mean? Simon Fraser University, they get SFU. All the time. Sometimes I've been heard of them referred to as the Fraser. That's an unusual one. Now, the 78th Fraser Highlanders, 9 times out of 10, they get called the 78th, but then that can get confusing along with the Halifax Citadel, that's a problem. And so, yeah, a lot of bands do get abbreviated names, all right? And I get it. Whenever people are new into the scene, it can be a little daunting going, well, what band are you talking about? Is it Uddingston? Is it Uddingston Strathclyde? Which one? Which one? Help me out. Yeah, I get it. So hopefully that has clarified that situation. They are definitely two very different bands. There you are. Okay. Hopefully that answers that question. So perhaps you do play for a pipe band that does have a nickname. Now, I used to be in charge of the Quinn Memorial. Their nickname was the Mighty Quinn. There you go. I used to play for, the Queen Elizabeth Pipe Band, as you guys know, and they used to be called the Queen Bees. Not sure where the Queen Bees came from. There you are. Of course, I'm currently playing with Tullylagan, and they're called the Lagan, affectionately. So I don't know. A lot of bands get abbreviated nicknames, and it helps with the vernacular, I guess. But if you're not dealing with it every day, you it can get very confusing very quick. So I do my best to kind of give each band I'm referring to their full title, but if I do slip into that abbreviation, then do forgive me. I guess I do my best, Like this last while, I've been referring to Police Scotland and Federation. I've just been calling them the Federation, for example, or even Police Scotland Fife. I've just been calling them Fife. Just the one little... Anyway, I'm digressing now, but you get the idea. It is kind of a local slang if you're involved in the scene, I guess. For a while, you do kind of get to know it, I guess. Anyway, hope that answers that weekly drone. There you go. Covered a lot of ground this week in weekly drone. If you do want to send in your own, of course, you can do. Go to our website, thebigrabshow.com. Big button at the top of the page that says weekly drone. Click on that and you can let us know your thoughts and opinions on all things bagpiping related, completely anonymous. And I got a feeling that once we get into all of this grade 1 chat, we're going to receive some more weekly drones this week. I've just got a gut feeling about that. Anyway, and before that, I'm going to take myself a wee break before we do get into the weeds with it. Yeah, I'll be right back after this. Ever wish you had a piping teacher on call 24/7? Well, now you do. Introducing the Interactive Player, a game-changing new practice tool at Dojo University. Play along with world champion pipers while the notes on your sheet music light up in time. Loop tricky phrases, slow down tough sections, zoom in to focus, and build speed automatically. It's like having a teacher right in your practice room, showing you how to master every tune at your own pace. So, sign up for a free trial today at pipersdojo.com and start learning smarter with Dojo U's Interactive Player. Okay, let's get into the news and updates. Now, folks, there's been so much this past week. We're going to do our best to get through all of it. But, of course, there will be stuff that has to hit the cutting room floor for time purposes. Now, this is going to be a long enough episode as it is. So, yeah, if you do feel so aggrieved that potentially we did miss a news story that you believe we should have hit this week, then please do email us in. bigrabshow@gmail.com. That address again, bigrabshow@gmail.com. And yeah, we could possibly bring it to a future show. All right. Now, I have a full script in front of me. Let's make a start. And the best place to start, I suppose, is, Big Rab Show Awards. Yes. Voting for the Big Rab Show Awards continues. Now, we launched it last week where we announced our finalists, and I wanted to give a bit of an update with regards to voting. There's been some confusion as to how voting works. Some people believe that it's similar to how the nomination process goes and that it goes on an email. But no, you have to go to our website. Yeah, thebigrabshow.com. There's a big link on that homepage. Click on that and it'll take you through to the Easy Quest, I think is the name of the company that are handling it for us. Go to that, and then you fill out your survey with your email address at the bottom, and then, boom, hit submit, and that's it. Your vote is done. Now, we've got questions from folks saying, can you vote multiple times? Well, the way the system works is that it recognizes email addresses and that you are an actual person with an email address, and if if you submit the same email address over and over, well, it only really counts as one vote. It recognizes it as one person. So you can't really spam the system because it automatically cuts those votes out. So for those who are trying to spam the vote, that won't happen, unfortunately. Yeah. Now, there can be little loopholes, and I know people are searching for them. And I'm not going to encourage that. But, if you have multiple friends, family members, aunts, uncles, pets, whatever, if they have email addresses, brilliant. That'll all count as a vote. All right? That's all I'm going to say. Good luck to everyone who is announced in our finalists. Voting is underway, and I'm going to give you a bit of an update on the total of votes we've received so far. Right, okay. I think this needs the music again. Alrighty. At this point in the proceedings, we have received over 2,500 votes. Yeah, 2,532 to be precise. Whoa! That's a lot of votes right there. There you go. So Big Rab Show Awards are thundering along. Now, I have to say, get your votes in, get them in early, and then you can relax. So all of these reminders where I'm, constantly rabbiting on telling you, hi, voting closes next weekend on the 1st of November. And please make sure that you do vote for your favorite. All right, there you go. I just wanted to give you a bit of an update with regard to the Rab Show Awards. Am I going to give you a bit of a sneak peek as to who's in the lead in our categories? No, I'm not. I'm not, but that's just information that us and the Rab Show team will be privy to. But we will announce our eventual winners down the road. But for now, voting continues. Get your votes in before November 1st when it all closes here. All right. Okay, let's fly on. First of all, I want to lead with a bit of a news story that came from the Competitive Pipers Association. Now, this one is interesting for solo bagpipers specifically. Yeah, at a recent annual general meeting that was held back in August, well, we're now starting to see the outfall of that. The Competing Pipers Association, they've now updated their code of conduct. And the motion that was passed back in that AGM in August, if you don't know what that was, it's where the CPA president, Gordon McCready, he was kind of at the spearhead of all of this. And, well, I'll go to the press release, okay? And there was a statement taken from the president, Gordon, and he says that this is basically another layer of protection for graded members to get the best grade that they can, along with asking the SPJA, which is the Scottish Pipe and Judges Association, to assist and to make sure that all judges involved in competitions for the CPA are sanctioned by them in Scotland to stop, well, rogue results, as they're calling it. Yeah, so this new rule kind of reads like this. As a member of the CPA, you are advised that you should only compete in solo piping competitions which use properly accredited adjudicators, be this on a one-person bench or a multiple bench of judges. Yeah. So if members do compete in events in the UK which do not use judges drawing from the SPJA list, well, then they must be aware that any prizes won at those competitions will be disregarded during the grading process. That kind of eliminates that grey area that's been there for a while. There's been a good number of unsanctioned competitions by outside of the CPA and has brought that into question. A lot of people were saying, well, I won X competition, why haven't I been upgraded? Was it a sanctioned event? Well, now it's actually in black and white to say that, all competitions that are run in conjunction with the CPA need to have sanctioned judges. And then that eliminates that variable. All right. Yeah, so that's one's very specific for solo bagpipers. If you are curious about all of that, of course, that has been published online along with that rule change. That is available now on the CPA website. Of course, you can go and read the full news story and press release that's been issued on this on bagpipe.news as well. You can go and check that out. Very interesting story, new development in the solo piping world. And it does kind of get rid of that grey area there, I guess. Yeah. Sticking with solo bagpiping, we have to talk about the Glenfiddich Championship this weekend. Yeah, we've spoken about the lineup, of course. We know who all's playing this weekend. It's just going to be incredible. I cannot wait for this year's Glenfiddich. I honestly cannot predict how it's going to go, and that's why it's going to be so exciting. Well, first of all, the Glenfiddich is actually sold out. There's been a few people actually contacting us this morning looking tickets, and it's the National Piping Centre announced it just this morning as well, saying that it is sold out. You can't get into the venue. Now, that's kind of par for the course. This venue always sells out for the Glenfiddich every year. But do not dismay. You can actually tune in and watch it live online this weekend. Yeah, thanks to the folks there at the National Piping Centre, the entire Glenfiddich competition will be streamed live online. Tickets for this are £15. Now, I know some people might wince at that and think that's a little bit steep, but when you consider what you're going to get for your money, it's really cheap at twice the price, to be honest. Now, you'll be able to watch the event live as it happens, right? Now, that in itself is a bonus, okay? Because you can't get in through the door. But the beauty of this is that 24 hours after the event itself, it will be available to you as a live stream ticket holder for an entire month. What? Yeah, an entire month. Now, it used to be that the Glenfiddich, once you bought your live stream, you could watch it for like a day or two afterwards. I think they stretched it last year to be like a week or something. But this time, they have extended it for the full month of November. That's crazy. All right. So, pay your 15 quid, go and watch the live stream online. Trust me, you'll be thoroughly entertained. And, you'll be able to watch it back for an entire month after that. Whew, that's fantastic. So, for full details, go along to thepipingcentre.co.uk. Follow all the links for the Glenfiddich Championship this weekend. And, I hope you're going to be joining us. Ourselves in the Big Rab Show, of course. We will be tuning in and watching all the action from early doors. Really looking forward to this. And, yes, even the Pembroke competition. Yeah, believe it or not, I do love a bit of Pembroke now, especially after this last competition there with the New Zealand Young Piper. That was so good. And, I'm looking forward to the Glenfiddich now, getting a bit more Pembroke in my life. So looking forward to that. So that's all happening this weekend. It's considered the pinnacle of solo bagpiping, the Glenfiddich. It's the one that everyone wants to win. And, best of luck to all of our competitors and to all of you out there who were looking tickets for Blair Castle and are out of luck. Well, hi, there's your option. Go and buy your live stream ticket and tune in and watch it online. There you are. All right, let's fly on. Okay, so before we get into everything with the World Drumming Solos, I know there's a lot of people tuning in to get my reaction to that. Yes, that happened. But first of all, I want to talk about quite an exciting announcement that we got on October 19th, just a wee while ago. Celtic Connections 2026 have announced their full lineup. Now, last week we mentioned that there was little teasers happening and that Ross Miller had announced dates, and I think Ali Hutton, Ross Ainsley, there was a few other there was concerts happening, right? There was gigs, but we weren't aware of the full lineup at that time when we recorded the pod last week. Well, now we have the entire lineup. And see for piping fans, this year's Celtic Connections is just ridiculous. Okay? Piping Live, I don't know, man. That was incredible. But Celtic, what? Okay, this deserves a brand new sound effect. Yeah, it deserves a wow. If you haven't checked it out yet, go to CelticConnections.com. Full listings are available there now, but obviously we're going to be focusing on the piping element. There is, this is the one I've been waiting for, all right? The big announcement for the Celtic Connections Pipe Band Concert. It's affectionately called the Lunchtime Concert, all right? Yeah, the announcement for this had me actively looking for flights and hotels. I really want to get to this. Yeah, this is going to be called Live and Well. Have you seen this? Yeah, the Gordon Duncan Tribute Pipe Band Concert entitled Live and Well. Oh, man. Yeah, so this is going to be held on January 17th. And the tribute pipe band, as they're calling it, the Gordon Duncan tribute pipe band, will be on stage celebrating 30 years since the release of the game-changing album Live and Well from the Vale of Atholl Pipe Band. What? What? Yeah. Now, for any of you that remember whenever that dropped, that was such a huge album, and I absolutely loved it. And if anything, I'm feeling very old now that album is turning 30 years old. Wow. So, they haven't announced the full lineup of the tribute pipe band or who exactly is involved, but behind the scenes, the whole concert has been masterminded by two of Gordon's most distinguished protégés, of course, Ross Ainsley and Ali Hutton, and we are holding on to hope that the band themselves will be pipe majored by Ian Duncan. That's just rumor for now, but we can't confirm that, okay? The lineup hasn't been confirmed. But, folks, run out now. Grab your tickets for this. The Gordon Duncan Tribute Pipe Band, Live and Well. Seriously, January 17th, go grab your tickets for this. I am still pricing up flights and stuff. I am going to get to this if I can. Do you know the beauty of it? Because it is held at lunchtime, this really suits people from Northern Ireland and Ireland in general. We can hop across the Irish Sea that morning, catch the concert in the afternoon, and then get our flight home that night. You can do it on the day trip. I've done it before. This one, folks, go and check it out. That had me proper excited, that one. Oh, brilliant. Now, not only that, but there's all sorts of other great piping action. There's a concert here called The Conundrum, which is an international piping night, which features Finlay MacDonald, Ailish Sutherland, Michael McGoldrick, John McSherry. What? Alongside pipers from Brittany and, well, come on, the Bagged Cap Caval Pipe Band will also be there as well. What? Yeah, folks, other bagpiping acts include Scaravor. Donald Lindsay will be across as well. Manon Lewis. We have Ascent, who are having a gig there too. We have Rora, one of my favourite acts is there. Dave, and I've mentioned Ross Miller, of course, earlier. Ali Hutton and Ross Ainsley also have gigs across it. Yeah, I can't oversell this festival this year, especially for piping fans. It seems to be Celtic Connections this year have really had a focus on piping this year. Now, as to what the thinking is behind that, I don't know, but I'm all for it. It's just fantastic. We're really spoiled for choice at the moment with concerts and stuff. And as we mentioned, Piping Live this year was off the chain. It was such a good festival this year. And, I thought, that's it. You can't top that. And here we go. Here comes Celtic. And they just blew the doors off the place, didn't they? Whoa! There we go. Go and check it out. CelticConnections.com. Definitely one for piping fans. Go and check that out. But yeah, right now I'm pricing flights and I'm going to grab tickets for that Gordon Duncan Tribute Pipe Band show. Oh, that's going to be a cracker. Okay, so before we get into everything with the World Solo Drumming Championships, and there's a lot to unpack there, I did want to get into a topic that everyone's been asking. I've been promising it from the start of the show. Let's talk about this situation that's happening in Grade 1 right now, with Johnstone Pipe Band now deciding to dissolve, alongside Closkelt Pipe Band, who have also decided the same. Now, what was the motivation behind both of these? I think both bands have different stories to tell, but in a similar way, they have a similar tale to tell as well. There are similarities and differences, but the end result remains the same. Two of our Grade 1 big guns will no longer be in the circle this incoming season. Now, that's heartbreaking. Now, last week we spoke all about the Closkelt situation and just how awful that was. And even last night on Fuse FM, we dedicated practically a whole show playing all sorts of great Closkelt medleys and Johnstone music from over this past, I don't know, how many years at this point? Years and years worth of brilliant music from both bands. And we really delved back through the archives. And I don't know, both bands had such a storied history, and that rise through the ranks to Grade 1, you would think that would be only the beginning of their story, and that you would see them rising off the bottom rungs of those ladders in Grade 1 and heading up to the heady heights of the top flight and lifting the big yin eventually. But here we are. We're now reading stories saying that both bands have pulled away from competition in Grade 1. First of all, let's look at Johnstone, okay? Because last week we dealt with everything to do with Closkelt. We've kind of covered that. But let's talk about Johnstone. Back in July, Johnstone Pipe Band put it out on their social media that their lead drummer, Gavin Orr, will be stepping down at the end of the season. Yeah, so this opened it up for opportunity for someone to step into that role and take on the challenge of being a lead drummer of a Grade 1 big gun. Now, Gavin has done an incredible job there at the back line of Johnstone, and I'm a huge fan of his music and has had some real expressive medleys over the years, especially this year, arguably. I really loved their medley this year. But, yeah, Gavin deciding to step away and, on to pastures new. But from July onwards, Johnstone Pipe Band were in recruitment mode, on the lookout for a potential new lead tipper. And by the looks of things, that wasn't possible. Because on October 15th, the band put out the statement, which reads as follows. Official statement from Johnstone Pipe Band. After much deliberation and in consultation with its members, Johnstone Pipe Band Grade 1 have taken the difficult decision to formally dissolve, effective immediately. All current members were invited to a meeting this evening at the band's hall in Johnstone, where he formally addressed the band to convey appreciation for their professionalism and contributions over the years. It was an opportunity to reflect on their shared achievements and also to acknowledge the challenges that they've encountered. This decision was to formally dissolve the Grade 1 band was a result of a combination of challenges, most notably the inability to appoint a suitable individual to the position of lead drummer. Now, that is where I want to hang my hat. And this is what has a lot of people wondering what happened. Now, the position was essentially open from early July, whenever this first broke, I guess, that Gavin was going to be stepping away. So the question remains, why were Johnstone unable to secure a brand new lead tipper? Now, we've seen other examples like this. Remember the story with the Police Scotland and Federation Pipe Band? Yeah, and they ended up taking an entire year out to try and secure their own lead drummer. Now, thankfully, they have secured one, and hopefully they're heading back into that competition circle in the near future. But it did take that entire year for the Federation band to secure the lead drummer. So, in this case, Johnstone Pipe Band unable to secure that leading drummer and, making the decision to pull the plug. Now, I'm sure this decision did not come lightly. You know, Johnstone has really storied history from all the way back in 1943 when the band was first established. And to reach that top flight in Grade 1 was a huge achievement for the folks at Johnstone. And yeah, I was so stoked for them. After winning the Worlds twice in Grade 2 to finally get that push to the big yin, I was so happy for them. And then we have what we have. Both Johnstone Pipe Band and Closkelt Pipe Band, in my opinion, now you can absolutely hang me out to dry for this and say it's stuff that Rab got wrong, but in my opinion, I think both bands, on occasion, did not get their due. Oh! Now, what I mean by that, I think both bands have stepped into that circle and had absolutely clinkers of runs that have really, shake the rafters. Do you know what I mean? Like, both bands have really let the cat out of the bag sometimes and just been so good. And then when you look at the results and where they fall in and with the rest of the top flight, it's so disappointing. And as we can see throughout that time of absolutely thumping tune after tune and getting nowhere, essentially, very difficult to get off that bottom 2-3 kind of step on that rung of the ladder, isn't it? And yeah, arguably last year, I did say this on Fuse last night. A good number of people actually agreed with me. my performance of the entire season for 2024 was from Klaus Kelt. Yeah. Now, listening back, I've heard tons of great medleys, of course, all the way through 2024. It was such a stellar season. But for me, personally, the standout moment for me from last year was Klaus Kelt at the Argent-Newton Championships. Yes, I know, it was a minor competition, not a big deal, I guess. It wasn't a major by any means, but Klaus Kelt were just, I've never heard a band sound like that. They had that big wall of tone and were just so musical in their drumming approach. It was just fantastic. And I still sing its praises today. And I have played that set many times on Fuse, and I'm sure people are sick of me playing it by now. But it was one of my favorite sets from last year. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm being controversial with saying that. I don't think that the bands really have got their fair crack at the whip whenever it comes to the results and stuff. Now, that does call into question judging and all of that, doesn't it? Am I calling our judges into question? No, absolutely not. I am giving my own personal opinion here. This is just me, Rab. And sure, what do I know? I'm not a qualified judge. I'm not in there with a clipboard. That's always my... Yeah, it's always my excuse, isn't it? But genuinely, there has been times where Johnstone Pipe Band have absolutely thumped a tune and have melted my face. I'm like, oh my word, that was Johnstone. What the heck? Yeah, it's happened so many times. And yeah, it's been so difficult for both bands to climb off of that bottom rung. And regardless sometimes of how well they play. Now, that's a controversial take. Now, yeah, there's been a lot of talk about a possible number cap. Okay? A lot of talk about a number cap. And will that help or hinder a pipe band going forward? I don't know. It's arguable, and you folks have been really interested in the number discussion again. Now, clearly, Johnstone Pipe Band and Klaus Kelt themselves did suffer numbers-wise. We know that. But it's very difficult for both of these bands to attract numbers in the first place. That's a discussion as well. Both of these bands, as I said, going into the circle and playing out their hearts and souls, and then finishing last each week is incredibly disheartening. And even, Johnstone have experienced it, Klaus Kelt have experienced it countless times for, I don't know, how many seasons now. And that is unsustainable. It's very difficult to attract players to your band, to put in all of that work, to step out in grade one, and to know that your band may not hit the mark. It's so difficult to attract new players, new talented players that are able to push and really achieve that envelope. It's very difficult to do. Now, I don't know, it's such a heavy situation that just has no winners in this. And my heart goes out to everyone there at Johnstone and to Klaus Kelt equally. I am genuinely going to miss both bands so much. I have been such a fan of their music. And yeah, I'm going to say it again. I don't think they got their due whenever it came to the results. But hey, there we are. Moving on, Johnstone Pipe Band have confirmed, however, that the focus will remain now with their Grade 3A band and that their 3A band will continue in the competition circle. Folks, we got a wealth of weekly drones on this, like we'd mentioned earlier, so we're about to get into them. And I would like to stress that these are the views of you folks out there in the bagpiping world. They are not essentially the views of us here in the Rab Show team. I just give you my own personal opinion. Now, that could be unpopular. And, yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see how that lands with the piping world. But let's fly on. JD, let's hear these weekly drones. First of all, well, give us the first one then. I think we have a few of these, actually.
It's the weekly drone. Problems in the band world. 2 Grade 1 bands gone. There will be more. I wouldn't be surprised if the great 78th Fraser Highlanders were next. Only had 7 drummers at the Worlds this past 2 years. Now, not their lead drummer, but their best, Blair Beaton, has jumped ship to Inverary. When will the powers that be wake up and smell the coffee and split Grade 1 into A and B? You could still play it all in Arena 1 in separate draws.
Weekly Droner, interesting. And yes, we are now in what's called affectionately transfer season. And yes, you are quite right that Blair Beaton, he did compete at the World Solo Drumming this past weekend, and he's registered with Inverary District. So you're quite right in saying so. So will there be more bands? I don't know. It is incredibly difficult at the moment to sustain a pipe band. And that's been part of the discussion at the moment, particularly in the top flight. You know, now in the lower grades to, I don't know, for grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, all of that has their challenges. You know, recruitment, finance, and logistics, all of that comes into play. When you get to the top flight in grade 1, you're talking about the pursuit of excellence, and the players that you need to attract into your pipe band, they need to be top flight players. Can you achieve that when your band is not finishing within that top 6 bracket or challenging for spiky? That's a very fair question. So seeing that Blair Beaton has jumped from the 78th through to Inverary and taking that opportunity, well, will we see others moving around? Now, this is transfer season, and yeah, I don't know. Every transfer season, a lot of bands can find themselves in a very difficult position where their players are offered opportunities with grade 1 big guns. Okay, now I'm talking from experience. I used to be in charge of a drum corps, and yeah, I had that knock on the door saying, Rab, I've had the opportunity to go and play in the top flight, but I don't want to leave you guys and leave a gap potentially in your drum corps. Well, my job as the lead drummer at that time, obviously, was to try and sustain the core and to head into a new season and win some prizes, but I absolutely did not want to stand in the way of that player having that opportunity. And I said, no, go and take that opportunity, grab it with both hands, go, because you never know when that door will close and you won't get that chance again. So absolutely, I could see the argument for saying, oh, no, you're staying with us. You're staying with the band. You're never leaving. We need to have a full complement of drummers for next season. Don't go anywhere. Don't cause me any problems. But at the same time, you do not want to stand in the road of opportunity. And that's a double-edged sword because it can be really hurtful for those that are left behind who are trying to build something big and potentially win those prizes and climb up that ladder. And some of your most talented players are getting opportunities elsewhere. That's a difficult one and a very bitter pill to swallow. Now, is this new for pipe bands? No. In fact, it's been my experience over this past, 30 plus odd years I've been involved in this game. Some things never change. Now, whether our association can do anything about it, that's arguable. I don't know. There's been a lot of debate online about this and, the potential of a number cap and all of that. Could that help? I don't know. That's a discussion for another day, I guess. Do we really want to get down that line, talking about number caps again? All right. JD, help me out, mate. We've got another weekly drone, haven't we?
It's the weekly drone. Sad state of affairs. Hi, Rab and team. Within days, the pipe band scene has been rocked by the news that 2 of our grade 1 bands have made the difficult decision to fold, both stating predominantly internal and external reasons being behind these difficult decisions. Looking at the last couple of years, we have seen that leading drummers, or lack thereof, have also played a huge role in a band's ability to compete. Police Scotland and Federation Pipe Band, for example, having to take a 1-year hiatus from competing in order to find a new lead tip. A hiatus that some bands, as we are now seeing, simply cannot survive. Reading commentary online, the notion of a player cap has risen its head again. Is this a good idea? as we see more and more bands struggling to get numbers, while some have seemingly endless pools of players to choose from. It does make one's eyebrow raise slightly. One personal anecdote: at the Worlds, I saw one Grade 1 band drop, if memory serves me correctly, 8 pipers. A few before final tuning, and a few after. That's 8 players that could have been playing in another grade. 8 players that could form their own pipe corps and compete. If bands can drop an entire pipe corps, one really does have to call that talent blocking. If we aren't careful and don't pay more attention to this, Grade 1 will become an exclusive elite bubble, inaccessible to many of us that dream of playing at the highest level. It is great to see these bands succeed, but not to the detriment of the scene as a whole.
Some interesting thoughts there, and I've never heard that term before, talent blocking. But it's a fair point, isn't it? And yes, you did mention about a particular Grade 1 band that did drop upwards of 8 players. Now, I did see that happening, yes. I even seen a band dropping more than that. Now, I'm not going to name names, and obviously these players have been dropped for 100 different reasons. We don't know the reasons behind it, but we've talked about that before in a previous Rab Show, when you get the tap on the shoulder, you know? Yeah, it happens. In fact, if anything, I tapped myself on the shoulder this year whenever Tullylagan qualified for the finals in 4B. Yeah, I said, right, Rab, enough's enough. I can't make it in that circle. So did the players drop themselves or did the band drop them? Don't know. That's a topic for another day. But yeah, whenever you can leave an entire pipe corps, essentially, by the sidelines and still go on and compete, that has to raise some eyebrows. And yeah, that is a fair point. Now, is it talent blocking, like you say? I don't know. Those 8 or 9 players that were standing by the sideline, I'm sure their ambition was to get into that circle. I'm sure that they didn't want to attend the World Championships and stand on the sidelines. I'm sure absolutely that was not their intention, to be dropped, you know? And no one likes to be dropped either. You know, it's not a pleasant thing, but it happens. But it does raise a fair question around numbers. Now, seeing how there was a lot of conversation about the number cap, all right? Yeah, it's now reached a fever point where everyone is now saying that a number cap is a good idea. Whenever we first had this argument on the show, there were people out there who were saying, I don't believe it's a good idea. You know, bands control their own numbers. And having, 40, 50, 60 pipers in a band presents its own set of problems. And bands can get too big and unmanageable, really. So is there a happy medium? And yeah, I think we reached that conclusion that there absolutely is a happy medium, that you can lose control if numbers get too big. But should we have a rule in place to enforce that bands don't get too big? I don't know now. I think time has now moved on from when we last had that discussion, which was years ago, pre-COVID. And here we are now, post-pandemic, and we are where we are, where 2 of our Grade 1 big guns are now having to pull the plug because they simply can't attract the membership. And other reasons, of course. Both bands cited that, for reasons internal and external. So as to what those reasons are, we can only speculate. But yeah, it's a fair point to ask now at this point. And I think the discussion around the bagpiping world, especially around our dinner table here at home, is a numbers cap now a potential good idea? I don't know. It's that age-old debate. We seem to keep bringing this back again and debating it. The good, the bad. Is a number cap a good thing? I don't know. There's arguments for, there's arguments against, and I don't know if we're ever going to figure it out. As much as there are people who are absolutely ardent saying, yes, a number cap is needed, we need it now, there are equally people on the other side of the debate who say, no, absolutely not. Once you start legislating for stuff like that, then you put a stranglehold on development, which is a fair point also. I don't know, folks. I would love to know your opinions. And I dare say we'll get some more weekly drones on this. Yeah. All right, JD, I think we've more weekly drones on the shelf. Let's rattle through these. Let's get the next one.
It's the weekly drone.
Player transfer window. We saw firsthand this season why a player transfer window could have avoided a band going off the road this season and the knock-on effect that has had. It absolutely infuriates me when you hear people saying things like, "I'm taking a step back," or "a year out as I can't commit." Then a month later, they're at another band going at it hammer and tongs. Another thing that rips my knitting is folk actively touting themselves for positions in other bands while stringing their current band along, hoping that a better offer comes up. While you might think you are being sneaky and clever, these secret calls and meetings get out as people talk. Leave a band the way you went into it. Be completely honest with the band and yourself. Be transparent and have some maturity and integrity. If you think this sounds like it's written about you, it probably is.
Ouch, weekly droner. Ooh, that one was close to the knuckle right there. Yeah, integrity and honesty aren't often employed when it comes to pipe bands. I'm joking. Of course, I am joking. But yeah, I've experienced this firsthand myself, you know, where members of my drum corps, again, I keep referencing that, but that is my point of reference, would be in talks with other bands and, would be actively reaching out and seeking other places to play. And as I mentioned before, that I preferred it when they were honest with me and said, "Hi, Rab, I was on the phone and was talking to this guy here, and there might be a chance I can go play with them in a higher grade." I said, "Hi, brilliant. If the door's open, go." Yes, go for it. Absolutely. I'd love to see you playing up there. Brilliant. But it's the honesty factor. The whole sneaky thing and trying to do it behind closed doors, that doesn't work. No. As we all know, our piping world is a small world, and we all know each other as well. And I'm sure right now, possibly some people out there who that weekly droner could be talking about. Anyway, the rumor machine keeps on turning. But yes, it absolutely rips my knitting as well. I would far rather that things be open and honest and saying, "Hi, I think I've done my time here at this band. I don't believe that I'm improving as a player. However, I now have an opportunity to go and play elsewhere, and I would like to take that opportunity." Now, there could be a million reasons why you want to move. There could be that you don't agree with the people that are there. Maybe you don't like them. It could be that. Or it could just be that you've been playing in grade 4B now for 15 years, and now you've got a chance to play in grade 1. Well, yeah, go for it, Or it could be logistical or personal reasons why you need a move. So there can be a million different reasons behind any potential move. And I think openness and honesty, I think our weekly droner said it best. I think that should be the best policy. If you are honest with your bandmates and say, "Hi, folks, I'm just not happy playing here. It's nothing against yous. I just don't like the music," for example. All right? I don't like the musical style, the approach. I want to do something else. I want to try something with these guys over here. Have at it. So, yeah, weekly droner, interesting point. Openness, honesty, and integrity are very difficult to come by in the bagpiping world. But take note, anyone out there who is making a move during transfer season, please leave a pipe band the way you joined it. Moving on, JD, give us the last one of these. We have to rattle on. Jeepers.
It's the weekly drone.
And so it came to pass. Rab, the position we find ourselves in cannot be a surprise. The people making the decisions have wanted an elite grade for some time, and by hook or by crook, they have helped in the bands they want and squeezed out the ones that faces don't fit. Meanwhile, The side shows of grades 2, 3, and 4 are all bursting at the seams. Enough is enough. We need to stop and start from the top down to fix everything that is wrong with the RSPBA and the current setup, and get with the times while we still have a pipe band community. Bands should have a maximum number of players, 18 pipes, 8 sides, 5 tenors, thus potentially seeing new bands forming from the surplus players. A clear promotion and relegation system, like most other competitive sports and hobbies. No exceptions. Get rid of the egos, agendas, and business interests. Ensure that people making decisions actually know what they're talking about. Change the process for people to become judges. Change the format of a competition. Have a freestyle open grade. Make pipe bands great again. The grading committee have already met, and bands have been notified. It will be interesting to see if they have a follow-up meeting now, where further changes are made in light of the position we find ourselves in.
Weekly Droner, that follow-up meeting will happen. Yeah, I can tell you that. Whenever we first read out all of the stuff to do with regradings and everything, we knew that that wasn't the last we've heard of it. That was just the initial meeting of the music board. And we do know that there is follow-up meetings after that, where on occasions bands can appeal their regrading decision and either move up or down accordingly to what they want, I guess. So they can appeal their case, and then the music board meet again, and they can consider all of those appeals. Now, whether there will be any moving and shaking with regards to where we are now with the grade 1 situation, that's a tough one. Now, it has been talked about in various different outlets. Now, I'm not going to quote them here, but there has been a lot of opinion pieces and articles published about this, about Uddingston, Glasgow Sky, and other bands that didn't get that push from grade 2 to 1 that were potentially due that lift. And other grades as well. There's other bands in 3A, 3B, for example, and 4A that we potentially could have seen move but didn't. And yeah, that has all been up for discussion. You know, the whole grading system, we mentioned it earlier in the start of the show anyway, when we're talking about this, about how there can be a grey area. And whenever it comes to results of competition, that's not just the be-all and end-all. That's not the line in the sand that dictates where your band goes, up or down. Yeah, there is the intangible that they look at. So, yeah, should we now look at this in the light of day of where we are right now? There has been a lot of talk and speculation about the establishment of what, has been referred to as the elite grade. Now, I have done a bit of research on this myself. Others in the Rab Show team have looked at this as well. And over the past 5, 6, 7 years, I guess, of competition, you can consistently see that the top 6 at most major championships in grade 1 have largely remained the same. Very little change is seen throughout all of the major championships throughout those years. And what is the reason for that? That is a very good question. Does it show that, these bands are absolutely consistently excellent over a long, long time? Or is it the counter argument that the door is closed to other potential bands trying to crack that top 6? Are they being shut out? Now, again, I'm not a judge. I'm not suggesting that these bands are being shut out, but it is very unusual when you look at competitive art, for example. Say you were competing at pottery or painting or something, that you wouldn't see a fluctuation in the artists hitting that top 6. All you have to do is look at our Billboard Top 100, for every week there's a show on the radio going, this week's top 10. And at number 1, we've Kylie Minogue or whatever. It's been a long time since I listened to that show. But yeah, you would see constant fluctuation of that top 10. Now, that not only does it based on the success of the artist and the popularity of their song, but you can draw similarities to that to the bagpiping world. How popular are these bands? How great are their medley performances? Just how musically masterful are they? And yeah, it's a fair question to ask. The establishment of an elite grade has been bandied around now online for quite a while. We talked about this on a previous Rab show just a couple of shows ago about a grade 1A and a grade 1B. And would that actually help the thing? Don't know. It's a difficult egg to crack, this. But you know something? I do believe that this is an issue that does need care and attention. And I don't think it's getting the appropriate attention that it needs. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because obviously right now, our RSPBA are very heavily focused on running competitions and securing venues and making sure that we have an actual calendar for next season. Also enforcing the rules, making sure that we're all financially solvent and running, colleges and classes and all of that other stuff. That seems to be where the big focus is right now, is maintaining the organization and keeping it running and bringing it into the future. Whether bringing that into the future should also include the health of our competitive season, particularly in our top flight. Could the association be doing more now to help those bands in that kind of cycle of strife, I guess, with constantly knocking your lamps out and finishing bottom or one from bottom? It's a very difficult cycle, that, and incredibly difficult to break through. Now, I don't know. I would love to know your opinions on this, folks. My only regret with all of this is that I didn't dedicate a full topic of the week to this. This is such a huge discussion, and I have no doubt that we will revisit this again in the near future. Please do send us in your weekly drones if you do want to weigh in on the conversation. And I am aware that a lot of people are very wary of this. For a passing comment on it could end up getting blackballed or something like that, So, well, I have to say, it's a conversation worth having. Ourselves here in the Big Rab Show team, we're here to try and help support our scene. We want to have these conversations and ask the difficult questions. Is there anything that can be done? Will a number cap help? Will, can the association help with regards to recruitment and perhaps run like a Big Rab Show matchmaking service? I don't know. Can more be done to help the health of our bagpiping competitive bands? It's a difficult question, and one of which I do think needs care and attention. I think we'll leave it there at this point. I think the overarching feeling from all of this is one of absolute sadness. For me, as a piping fan, I am going to deeply regret not seeing Closkelt in that circle again. I've been a huge fan of that band for years. Since their climb all the way from 4B up to grade 1, I've absolutely loved their music. And I've got a lot of friends and mates that have played with that band over the years and still do. Well, not anymore. And I'm really going to miss them. Same counts for Johnstone as well. I have such a wide respect for Johnstone Pipe Band, what they've accomplished over all these years, and some of the performances have just been incredible. I am absolutely in admiration of what Johnstone have achieved, and I'm so gutted that they've had to pull the plug here. This is not a good news story, and it's, very difficult to talk about here on the show. So, I hope we've managed to do it justice. It's with a heavy heart we say cheerio and goodbye to Closkelt and to Johnstone from the top flight. But we hope this is not the end of the story. We hope to hear more on this situation, and perhaps we will see further developments to help pipe bands remain in that circle, because that's what we're all here for. All right, let's move on to something a little bit more positive. Let's talk about the World Solo Drumming Championship. Yo! Back onto something a little bit more cheery. Let's talk about the World Solo Snare Drumming, and full congratulations go to Kerr McQuillan, who is the champion for 2025. Yeah, well done, Kerr. He also lifted the Champion of Champions as well. Now, that's kind of the league table of all of the solo championship events, and over the course of the year, Kerr managed to pick up enough points then to, he lifted that title overall. So well done to Kerr. Now, let's read through the overall snare drumming results first of all. As we just mentioned, Kerr McQuillan lifted it. In second place was Stephen McWhirter overall, and in third place was Stevie Shedden. Go on, Stevie. In fourth was Willie Glenholmes from Field Marshal, and in fifth was Alex Buchanan from FM as well. Then sixth was Blair Brown from St. Thomas Alumni. There you are. Now, for anyone who did tune in online to watch the live stream, yeah, you were in for an absolute treat. Both the MSR competition and the hornpipe jig were just absolutely riveting stuff. And I'm going to talk about Kerr McQuillan. Right. For those of you who haven't seen Kerr McQuillan's hornpipe and jig yet, go and have a watch at it. All right. Now, the video's been shared out online everywhere. It seems to be that's all who drummers are talking about at the moment. Wow. Okay. Kerr McQuillan was on fire. I have never heard Kerr play like that. Just insane. Now, Kerr obviously made it look effortless like he normally does, but he won the hornpipe and jig event with ones right across the board. And what has people talking was not only the effortlessness of it all, but also his delivery. Part of his drum score for the hornpipe and jig set involved stick throwing, back sticking. It was just amazing. If you haven't seen it, it's fantastic. So, yeah. But it has also sparked a bit of a debate through the drumming purists and asked, well, is it allowed at solo competition? Is that drumming? I would argue, yes, in a way it is. Kerr, obviously, from way back in the day, was a tenor drummer and is well used to having that visual element to his playing. Then, of course, he graduated onto snare drum and he is where he is now, leader of the mighty People's Ford, Bog Hall and Bathgate, Caledonia. And, here he is now, world solo drumming champion. And if you haven't seen the set, the run from Kerr, it's iconic. I can't sing its praises enough. It was just fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I know there's those out there, perhaps it's not for them. It wasn't their cup of tea. Maybe they're a little bit more traditional in their approach. But for me, it was full of passion and drumming fireworks. The tricks and everything, yes, they were cool to watch because they were executed so perfectly. I didn't drop a beat at all. It was just so well done. And, for pipers, I guess this is the equivalent of chanter chokes, I guess. I'm trying to think what the piping alternative would be. To throw in a stick around and backsticking. I don't know. Is there a piping alternative? Perhaps, false notes and slides and stuff. I don't know. I'm only guessing now. But yeah, shout out to Kerr McQuillan. Well done on lifting that title. He seemed to be kind of overwhelmed whenever the announcement came with the results and everything. He just had such a bewildered look on his face going, wow, I've done it again. It was brilliant to see. So also, I have to give a shout out actually to Stevie Shedden, who lifted the MSR competition as well. And I went back and watched his MSR run as well. That was brilliant as well. Now, looking at the overall summary sheets for both the MSR and the hornpipe jig, there seem to be a lot of, not disagreements, but there's a lot of, differences in the placings, I'm going to stress. Yeah. Now, obviously, for the hornpipe jig, like we mentioned there, Kerr McQuillan had ones across the board, and Stephen McWhirter had twos across the board for the hornpipe jig. But then after that, there was little differences of opinions between all the judges, 4 in total. So go and have a read at that. Summary sheets are available now. They're up there on the RSPBA website. You can go and have a delve through it. But what I would urge you to do is actually go back and have a watch at the live stream. And in particular, check out that run from Kerr McQuillan on the hornpipe jig. That was a moment in history right there. Yeah. Also picking up the tenor drumming result for the adults on the day was Jordan Bailey, of course. Yes. Well done, Jordan. It was brilliant. I don't know quite how these tenor drummers have such an impeccable technique. Now, everyone that competed in there that I watched was just blistering. I don't know how they do it. It seems to be that their flourishes are getting all the more extravagant and intricate, and then still have incredible beating, bang on the money, never missing a beat. It's just fantastic to watch. So if you haven't watched any of the tenor drumming as well, do take time to do so. But yeah, huge shout out to Jordan Bailey, lifting the title overall. Well done, Jordan. In second place in the tenor drumming was Jill Watson from People's Ford, Boghall and Bathgate. In third was Zara Patz, again from Boghall. In fourth place was Callie Curry from Boghall. In fifth was Josh Cunningham from Boghall. And in sixth place was Maya Googe from Police Scotland, Fife. There you are. So quite a lineup of tenor drumming. And if you haven't watched, like I say, do go back and have a watch at it. Now, for the full listings of who won what and where, you can go and check it out. As I say, it's been published on the RSPBA site. But my advice is to go back and watch it online. It's an absolute treat. Even for bagpipers, go and check it out. There is some real good piping in that as well. So, yeah, shout out to the pipers as well. If anything, I really enjoyed Stephen McWhirter's hornpiping jig as well. I think Stuart Little, who was piping for him, really was as steady as a rock. And I think that's what you need from a piper when you're competing at solos. You need a piper who is as steady as a stone, and that's difficult to do. Yeah. So there you go. Go and check that out. The World Solo Drumming Championships, what an event. It seemed to be ran just like clockwork as well. There was no delays. There was no real hiccups and everything. It was just absolutely brilliant. So well done to everyone there at the RSPBA and to the venue themselves, of course, at the Glasgow Caledonian University. I believe it is going to be returning there again next year. I think it's a real favourite, actually. I think a lot of people love it there. It's really handy. Lots of transport links and just dead easy to get to. And just a cracking good venue for such a huge event. And I'm looking forward to next year now. There you are. But congrats to Ciara McQuillan, world champion again. There you are. So finishing on a bit more of a positive note, I think we've covered a lot of ground there with all of the news and updates this week. And we're going to leave it there at this point. So again, if there has been anything that we have been talking about in this week's show that you believe is ultra controversial, then we've got it absolutely stuff the Rab got wrong. Well, then please do email us in bigrabshow@gmail.com and let me have it. Or, of course, you can go over to Weekly Drone and you can let us have it over there. Yeah, because it's completely anonymous. And then, you can let us know your feelings, warts and all, without fear of recrimination. There you are. All right, folks, you've waited to this point in the show. It's time for me to go and get a big cup of tea. It's time for the topic of the week.
Ready to take your playing to the next level? Say hello to the ES Session Chanter, the ultimate practice chanter designed for versatility and durability. Crafted from stainless steel and aluminium, the chanter comes equipped for both an A stem and a B flat stem, giving you the freedom to play along with any instrument, anytime, anywhere. Whether at a band practice or a trad session, the ES Session Chanter keeps pace with your creativity. Included with the chanter is the custom carbon carry case, the perfect addition to this compact and tactile instrument. To get yours, head to essessionchanter.co.uk. Kingdom Thistle Pipe Band Supplies for all your pipe band and marching band needs. Supplying everything from uniforms and instruments to custom-designed bass drum heads. They offer it all. Not forgetting their exclusive Kingdom Gilly Brogues and George Boots, crafted by bands for bands. Kingdom Thistle provides expert product advice and an industry-leading drum refurbishment service to keep your equipment in top-class condition. Also, shipping worldwide. So, stop by their store in Fife or visit them online at kingdomthistle.com for all your pipe band and marching needs.
Yes, indeed. Time for Topic of the Week. And, we've covered a lot of ground already, but we're about to get into quite an interesting topic. Yeah, we're back to our Meet the Band series. And, the title of this week's episode, we're meeting North Stratton. Now, again, full disclosure, we did record this yonks ago. If anything, we recorded this well before the World Championships, even way before their Decennium concert. Yeah. So this was recorded a brave while ago, so that's on us. It's only now that we're getting an opportunity to bring it here. So, hey, let's get into it, though, shall we? It's quite an interesting story, this. So, let's meet North Stratton.
Hey, Rab, it's Hugh Armstrong here, pipe major of North Stratton from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
And Jeremy White I'm the lead drummer of the North Stratton in Edmonton, Alberta as well.
There you are. So you are two of the fellas that'll hopefully be able to answer a pile of my questions, because I've been wanting to learn more about the band. So can you tell us then about how everything got started there? What were the origins of North Stratton?
Yeah, it's Hugh. I'll take this one. Yeah, back in the fall of 14, in Edmonton, we had gone a couple years of. Most of the starting members of the band did finish up playing in Alberta, Caledonia, when we packed it in Alcal in 2012, I guess. We just couldn't sustain the grade 1 thing. We had multiple people live in Calgary, half in Edmonton, a couple out of towners, and it was just it was a struggle for us back then to maintain the standard and the numbers, and it actually fizzled out. And then a couple of us in the pipe corps spent a couple of years at LA Scots, and a couple other guys just took a break. And there was kind of like a 2-year hiatus. Me and a couple of guys actually spent the first year that St. Thomas alumni was formed. A couple of us went and played with Jamie and that, because Jamie was our pipe major in Alcal. And it's too funny because when we formed North Stratton, Jamie, that was the 1 year St. Thomas didn't go to the Worlds, and Jamie and his son and a couple of his guys came and played with us. So there was like a 2-year gap there in Alberta, like 12 and 13, where the competitive scene had kind of dwindled. Some people took a break. Some people were playing other bands, and we kind of got some motivation to, start something local. What would that look like? How the discussion started that summer, and it sort of, we had enough people interested to start something at the grade 2 level. And then that's sort of how it started. We had a group of 10, 11 of us at Edmonton that kind of sat down in a library in a school and said, well, how the heck does someone start a pipe band? And if we're going to do it, now's the time to do it. So yeah, and that was that. It was a core group of us that were from Edmonton, and there's another band in town that kind of fizzled out over those 2 years too. So we kind of didn't merge or anything, but there was enough bodies to get a competitive band going, and that's sort of how it started. And the name sort of came about. We're from the north. Stratton means like river valley town, and Edmonton's right on the river valley here in Edmonton. So the name kind of just started, and it's been stuck since the fall of 2014.
There you go. So that is a very interesting question, though. How do you start a pipe band? Like, where do you even begin?
We're lucky here, Rab. We're lucky. Timing for us at the time, good buddies with Alistair Dunn at Hardy, and he had a bunch of kilts that he had brought in, or a tartan for another band, and that band sort of canceled the tartan. So all of a sudden, Alistair's sitting on enough kilts for 60 people, nothing to do with them. He sends me one. What do you think of it? And I'm still wearing that same kilt, and so we lucked out with the tartan. We got to name it ourselves. And then here in Alberta, some organizations are fortunate enough to get government funding via the form of casino. All of our casinos here, a percentage of their profits have to go to like nonprofit organizations. Oh. So we're fortunate enough to carry over the Alberta Caledonia Pipe Band Association name and continue getting that funding from the government. So every 2 years, that's ultimately how this band's been able to go overseas right from day one. We're very fortunate enough to get that extra funding from the government, which helps us pay for accommodations and uniforms and equipment and all that sort of stuff. So we're really lucky in that.
Oh, that was real. Well, that's excellent to have that finance in place, because I'm sure that's a big stumbling block for a lot of bands as they're trying to get established. Yeah, so it's great to have that then. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was certainly my goal right from the start. Like, if we're doing this, I want to go to the Worlds. I want to do well at the Worlds, and we want to be a band that's making the commitment to go over there every year, and we've done it. We've been to every World since we formed the band, and then we've been to a couple extra majors as well on the way. So lucky that way.
Oh, honestly, it's been a real pleasure watching you guys over this last few years. It's been fantastic. Yeah, so I need to ask then about, well, since your establishment then, you're bound to have had some real interesting characters in the band to date. Have you had any interesting past members that's passed through the ranks?
Well, I think every pipe band, I think we have. I don't know how to get in a specific, we're a pretty tight group here. Yeah. We certainly had some interesting characters. We certainly like to have a lot of fun. We're serious, but we can flip a switch, and we're a pretty tight group and have a good time in the evenings and traveling around. And even after practices here, we're at a park here in downtown Edmonton, and we finished about half an hour ago, and the whole band's still here sipping on a couple beverages, and it's almost 30 degrees here today. So yeah, I don't know about specific. We've had a lot of people come and a lot of people go. like every other pipe band, the core of us has pretty much remained the same. But yeah, so certainly some interesting characters along the way for sure.
I'm sure with some stories that we might not be able to broadcast then. Yeah.
There's definitely a couple, yeah, off the record for sure. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, yeah.
Usually happens on that side of the pond, to be honest. Yeah.
That was, oh, right. Okay. That's when the shenanigans happen. There we go.
It can be, yeah.
So can I ask then, has there been any like real memorable moments, anything that really stands out as being quite notable in the band's history since it started?
Well, I think, last year for us, winning the Europeans and winning the Worlds that's in the drumming. And then I think that was a huge moment for us. There's a lot of guys in the core that have been playing in a lot of bands or running other cores and everything. We've been playing a lot of years, been overseas a lot of times trying to get the job done. And so, getting past that last year was a really big deal for a lot of us. It was an amazing summer.
Oh, it was fantastic. And I have to say, the drum corps, we had to talk about the drum corps actually. You guys drew quite a big crowd at last year's Worlds. Now, I don't know if it was because of the drums, which were quite striking. You can see them from across the park.
You like those, Rob?
Oh, I love them.
Those?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, but yeah, it really did draw a huge audience this year. Did you find that a lot of people were watching you from the UK folks?
Yeah, I think maybe just because we're coming from away, everybody's kind of been to the other majors and seen everybody, so we're kind of like we're kind of fresh blood when we get over there. So it's nice. We try to just kind of focus on what we're doing and on the business at hand, I guess, so kind of keep the guys in the zone and
and ignore all of the crowd watching. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Don't let anything distract us too much. So
that's a good ethos. Yeah. So can I ask then about the musical approach? The band this last while has had some real intricate medleys. That take some listening to, I would argue. Yeah. So can you talk about the musical approach then, whenever you're constructing medleys?
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So usually, I guess, like over the year, like I'm always like sending Hugh just like any kind of tune that I like or whatever. Like, hey, just so you know, I love this one or whatever else, and like he'll either be like, yeah, that's cool too, or like, yeah, not in a month of Sundays, But yeah, so we just kind of you get the idea out, and then at the beginning of the year we start kind of hammering things out. Like this year we have a new medley that we've been working on. We're excited to play, and then we've got the concert this summer. We've got a whole repertoire to put together for that, and so we keep some of the old stuff and we add in new stuff and try to find stuff that, like, not just doing the top 40 stuff that the top guys are doing or whatever, that we're kind of trying to create our own sound and our own personality as a band.
Yeah. And that just comes down to personal preference then. You just kind of hear a tune and you like it. And that's the thought process then, really, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of, like, to me, like, catchy medleys I hear it once and like a couple hours later I can be tapping my foot and still humming the tune, right? Like it's just, again, it's all personal. Some guys like some certain stuff, and when I'm selecting tunes, it often comes in like pairs. Okay, this hornpipe goes with this jig, these two chest bass really, and you try to piece together a story over 6 minutes, and do your best not to overdo transitions. And I hate to say we keep it clean and simple, but certainly when I'm settling down tunes to the pipers, I want to play tunes that I know we're going to play well, right? And that people are going to enjoy listening to. And if guys enjoy the tunes, you're generally going to get the best out of them, right? So it's kind of been kind of a potpourri of music over the years, but we've had a lot of good comments about, construction and flow of our music, which is, it's got to be fun, right? You want to come to band practice here, you're away from your families and your jobs, and you got to have fun with the people and play cool tunes, right? That's what it's all about.
And that's the reason I asked that question, is because whenever I watched you guys playing in Glasgow last year, you seem to be having fun. Whereas other bands might have been like ultra stressed out and like sorting chanters and running around frantically. You guys seem to be just enjoying it. And that was part of the process that day.
We're playing music, it's all about we try to approach it thinking about like the performance rather than thinking of it as like we're we're taking some sort of test or something. You know what I mean? Like we're trying to have a good run that people enjoy, and I think if people enjoy it, then success will follow. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty calm guy, leader, I guess. I'm not a yeller or a screamer, and I don't want people afraid of me. I'm pretty almost to my detriment. I'm maybe a little too chill, a little laid back. So it comes across hopefully in the group that everyone's calm and sort of focused, right? I don't want everyone panicking. Oh, they hear this and hear this. So I'm just try to keep everyone level keel and worry about how it sounds as a group, right?
Yeah, no, that's sound advice there for sure. Yeah. So can I ask then, well, obviously you were mentioning you have a concert coming up, but does the band have any other plans this incoming year?
Yeah, we have a big concert called Decennium in end of July, which is the decade since the band has been formed. So that's a big undertaking for us. A big fundraiser, obviously. It's a couple weeks from the Worlds. Our out of town crew is all going to be here, and we're hoping to get 400 or 500 people into the concert hall. Other than that, it's local contests. Here in a couple weeks, we're going to be heading to Vancouver to go to Scottfest in Coquitlam.
Oh yes, that's coming up. Yeah.
This will actually be, I know BC's our neighbors, but actually this will be the first time the band's actually competed in BC. So there's going to be a couple other grade 2 bands there. So we're hopping there the 3rd week of June to go have our first run through outside of the year, and then local contests, and then we'll be back over there to hopefully defend our title at the Europeans and give her a go at the Worlds. And then we're going to Pleasanton, California in September. We usually make that trip every maybe 2 out of 3 years kind of thing. It's been a pretty popular spot for us. It's a good games, fun weekend to end the year on. So looking forward to getting to California again in September.
There you go. And it's a very competitive one as well. I've noticed the standard there is really high in Pleasanton. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. So, and again, really good judging, very good judging panel down there too. So that's and that's a benefit to us going to Coquitlam as well. It's a full RSPBA panel. So that's beneficial for us to get out there, a couple of months before the Worlds to see, where we're at.
That's it. Does no harm. Yeah. Well, if anything, I'm dead excited. I might have the opportunity to see it twice this year in the UK. But for anyone listening right now, where can they go to find out more information about the band?
Yes, we do have a website, northstrattonpipeband.com, but we're pretty active on Facebook as well. So that's sort of where we do most of our stuff is via Facebook.
There you go. And you have to go and check out, even if it's just for the drums, especially the bass drum as well, which is very cool, in my opinion. One of the coolest bass drums out there, yeah. Well, folks, thanks so much for taking time to chat with me. I know you just finished up with practice, so thanks a million. And here, we'll hopefully catch up with you down the road at some point, yeah.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay, cheers, Rob. See you in the summer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, take care.
There you are. Now, I have to say, they didn't get a nomination for coolest bass drum. Do you believe that? Yeah. Anyway, that shows you right there. I'm a massive fan of their bass drum. I do think they deserved the nomination for it, but hey, you folks didn't. So there we go. That's what we have. But they did receive a couple of nominations at the Rab Show Awards. One for Best Live Act, of course, and Coolest Drums as well. So yeah, a massive shout out to the folks there at North Stratton. Thank you for taking time to chat with me on the show this week. Really appreciate it. Right. That's it for another Big Rab Show podcast. Yeah, that's been a week, hasn't it? Yeah, we have covered a lot of ground. And if there's anything we've spoke about on this week's show, or any other show for that matter, please do email us in, bigrabshow@gmail.com. Or, of course, you can send in your own weekly drone, and we'll bring that to a future show as well. Yes, so do get your commentary into us, all things about the bagpiping world. We'd love to reflect it here in the show, so we'd love to hear from you. Yes. So that's it for another Big Rab Show podcast. Thank you, everyone, for downloading this week. Don't forget to get your votes in for the Big Rab Show Awards. Yes, voting is still ongoing right now. You can go to thebigrabshow.com. A big button right at the front of the page. You can't miss it. Click on that and place your votes all before November 1st when the doors close. And we'll be, talking more about that next week, I'm sure, as that deadline looms. Yeah. Also, this weekend is the Glenfiddich, as we've been mentioning earlier. So, will Callum Beaumont defend his title? Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. So, I'm hoping you can join us, actually, for the Glenfiddich live stream this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, as I say, let's wrap things up. And, send in your weekly drones, your listener mail, all of that good stuff. And we'll do our best to catch up next week for, well, we have quite another interesting topic of the week to bring you next week. We'll get into that. Yeah. Thank you all for downloading this week. And we will catch us all in the next one. Until then, all the best.
Well, that's it for another Big Rab Show podcast. Thanks so much for downloading this week, and a special thank you to our sponsor, G1 Reeds. Played by bands around the world, they are the champion's choice. Check out g1reeds.com for all of your piping needs. Don't forget to check out thebigrabshow.com to be kept up to date with all of the latest news and views from around the piping world. And also, check us out on Patreon. For $5 a month, you can get your hands on tons of extra piping goodness and be a part of the Patreon faithful. So, until next week, folks, we'll see you right here on the Big Rab Show Podcast. All the best.